So yesterday, my friend sent me an article talking about some of the situations going on in the church in the Amazon. Now, if you don't know, there's a big synod coming up talking about the situation in the church in the Amazon, and it's going to have some really bad ramifications if it goes through the way it's going so far. A lot of cardinals have talked about how it cannot go through if this is the way it's going to go through, the way it's looking like. Some of those things are heavy focus on environmentalism, heavy focus on the possibility of married priests, and potentially people are concerned that there might be some discussion about female ordination, not necessarily to the priesthood, but to the diaconate, which, as we talked about before in an earlier video, the diaconate is a step towards priesthood. So my friend sent me this article, and it talked about how some deacon, I believe it was referring to one deacon specifically, but it seems to represent a greater situation in the Amazon church, that a deacon was being told by his bishop to celebrate Mass where the priest was not around. Now, I don't know if you know this, but deacons cannot celebrate Mass. Deacons do not have the faculties to celebrate Mass. And so essentially, it might seem, okay, this is great, this is pastoral, there's not enough priests, so we have the deacon do it. Well, sorry, but essentially what's going on there is the people are being deceived into thinking that they have a valid Mass, but they don't. They're given no valid Mass. The deacon perhaps could celebrate some kind of minor liturgical service for them that's not, or I don't know if it would be liturgical, but some kind of prayer, like not Mass though, because as we talked about, as I mentioned, the diaconate is a step towards the priesthood. A deacon has the faculties to read the gospel, I'm pretty sure, and he's in the Novus Ordo Mass, he says some of the prayers, some of the, like, I believe he's the one to say, like, to dismiss the people, and there's, in the Latin Mass, he has some specific tasks that he does that are different. I'm not sure about them exactly, but the point is only the priest has the fullness of ordination, save for the faculties of a bishop. The priest is the only one who has the authority to act in persona Christi. That's very important. The priest is the only one whose hands have the means to consecrate the holy sacrifice of the Mass, to consecrate the Eucharist, I should say, and to celebrate the Mass. A deacon does not have that kind of authority. So, if this is being allowed, and the particular priest that was being, I guess, interviewed or cited in this article, I'll try to link it in the description so you guys can read it for yourselves. It seems like he was saying, or maybe it was a different priest, but there was talk in the article, quoting people, saying, we're coming to a point in the church where we no longer need priests. Now, this is fundamentally false. We always need priests because, like I said, without priests, there is no Mass. Now, morning. Now, if it comes to that in the church where the lines are blurred so thinly between lay people and priests, which seems like it's what's going on, which seems like that's partially what's going on. It's like that gradualism, right? You start out with let's allow some lay participation in like a minor function of what's typically reserved for priestly or otherwise holy orders, And then you get, okay, well, let's start allowing a little bit more, and eventually it's like, well, okay, what's a priest? What's a layperson? I don't know. There's no difference. Who cares? You don't need a priest. Which is completely antithetical to the gospel. It's completely against what Christ declared, what Christ has done in the church. It's essentially what the Protestant Revolution aimed to do, is partially to abolish the lines between a priest and a layperson. So it's a mess. And the other issue here is that in the article it clearly showed, at least by the opinion of this priest that they were quoting, Pope Francis was very aware of the situation, and he said, okay, let's not worry about this right now. The article speculated that the reason for this is because perhaps Pope Francis wants to encourage married deacons, married priests, and say, okay, you got this problem, I have an easy solution for you. You can get more priests by having married priests, which although technically married priests are generally lawful in certain circumstances, and in the Eastern churches, it is not proper to the Roman rite. There's a lot of history behind that I don't have complete knowledge of, but historically it's not part of the Roman rite, and part of that is because the priest marries the church, right? The church is the bride of Christ, the priest acts in persona Christi. Sorry, there's a lot of bugs this morning. So it's not exactly in line with Catholic theology at least with the Roman rite, to allow for married priests. And even where there are married priests, there's no married bishops. As far as I know, I don't think there should ever be a case like that. The Eastern churches certainly don't have married bishops. So we have some problems. Lines are being blurred. Things are less and less clear. Pray and fast. Let's hope to God that instead of further descent into chaos and madness, we get some clarity, we get some strong teaching. There are teachers in the church that we can rely on, like Cardinal Mueller, Cardinal Sarah, and Bishop Athanasius Schneider, Cardinal Burke. There are many strong leaders in the church, where it's a tragedy that we can't always rely on all of the cardinals and bishops, right? Like, I guess a lot of people are just hoping for some definitive statement of truth, but what seems to be desired by most of the hierarchy is vagueness, right? Ambiguity, uncertainty, because it's easier to have people agree with you if they're not sure what you're saying. So that's a big problem, right? Christ said, let your yes mean yes and your no mean no. We need to be honest. We need to be definitive in what we say. So pray and fast, hope for the best. Do what you can to be sincere, to live with integrity, and we'll see what comes up in the next video to talk about. So thanks for watching, and God bless.